Hey guys, Dylan here, and today we are doing a quickie discussion. Today's quickie discussion is on spiritual possession. I know it's very relevant because I just did a Sonic Insanity also involving people being possessed by spirits. And most of the stuff that involved Christian for the past 2 years has been involving spiritual possession. So a lot of people being possessed by ghosts or possessing people. Very, very strangely coincidental. I have already told Barbara directly about the body swap. She took it very cool and calmly without any emotional outburst or stress. Chris, role-playing as Maja-chan. Spiritual possession is the belief that spirits can possess a person's body. Chris believes he has experienced possession by his imaginary friends. He has increasingly used it as a maladaptive coping mechanism to avoid reality and criticism, such as when he began role-playing as Sonichu as part of an elaborate fantasy to cope with being unable to attend real-world BabsCon, or when he role-played as Mewtwo to defend himself from criticism levied by a Twitter troll. Which, yeah, that is very coincidental. Both of those things happened at around the same time that Chris started LARPing. Method. Chris believes this shit for real, though because he tried to talk to Yuzume, which sounds no different than how he normally talks, he only tried to raise his pitch and couldn't pronounce the name of half of the Neptunia characters. That's pretty funny, but it's coming from an idea guy, so fuck them. And we see a funny little picture of Chris here, drawn very accurately. When Chris believes he has swapped spirits with an imaginary friend, he role-plays as the character's persona. While doing so, Chris refers to himself in the third person in calls and videos and tries to change his voice and vocabulary, which he fails at. He sometimes changes his profile picture and name on his social media to match the OC he's possessed by, and I hope he doesn't do it again because it's become really tiring at this point. Chris appears to have forgotten that he can do this on Twitter, forcing him to preface his tweets as Sonichu to remind his followers of the roleplay. Well, that also is very useful for later when he changes his name back, so you know which ones were him being Sonichu and which ones weren't him being Sonichu. Maybe he's doing a bit of a smarter play than you think, because you shit talk him now, but I can tell you which tweets came from Sonichu and which ones came from Chris after he changed his name back. He also changes his signature on occasional drawings to match the OC's name, which the Sonichu one looked like shit. The behavior was unseen from Chris until the idea guys and the Teen Troon Squad and various other enablers role-played as characters from Quickville to bend Chris into their will. After their removal, Chris retained the idea of role-playing by saying his OCs are manifesting in the Dimension 1218, the real world, through his body for various reasons. When role-playing, Chris says things that would sound very weird if it came from Chris's mouth. For example, he called Barb a guilty pleasure waifu while role-playing as Maja-chan, which I don't know if that was troll-influenced or not. I wouldn't take that too seriously. He might say this to prove he is no longer Chris, as Chris would never say something like that, right? Mama. During Chris's phase of role-playing that he is possessed by the spirit of Sonichu as Sonichu, he refers to both Chris's spirit and physical body as Mama, as both are an allusion to how Sonichu referred to Chris as father in the comics and reflect Chris's transgender status. Yuzume Tenobushi, which I probably said that wrong. It's probably Tenubushi, but I don't really care because I'm not into Neptunia. Miss Yuzume, she has been dormant inside my Dreamcast. Oh yeah, I forgot that's what Neptunia is. That's a really stupid fucking idea, just saying. And I pulled her out. We've been sharing my body since. Yes, she is able to control my body when she has control and speak through my lips in her voice, which I doubt that could be possible because you can't do other voices. Yuzume, also known as Orange Heart, is a console patron unit, CPU, in Mega Dimensional Neptunia. She represents the Sega Dreamcast because, of course, it's one of the few consoles Chris Chan actually has. On the 8th of November 2017, Chris was brainwashed by an idea guy into believing that he was sharing his body with the spirit of Yuzume. John Yamada, an alias used by one of the idea guys, texted Chris and crafted a roleplay scenario in which Chris's Dreamcast was the portal that could connect Chris to his imaginary safe space, Quickville. Guided by suggestibility, Chris subconsciously filled in the roleplay scenario to further believing that Magi-Chan teleported to the real world, scanned the Dreamcast, and confirmed that there was a powerful force inside the console, despite it just being a regular old video game console that can't do shit. Chris left the console on for 24 hours to charge it, which probably hurt the console, you shouldn't do that, and then touched it, getting shocked, and interpreted that as him pulling Yuzume, the fictional character, into his body, but it was really just probably going haywire because he left it on for 24 hours in a house. It's fucking terrible looking, and it probably has like nicks in the cord. I would worry about the Dreamcast causing the next house fire if I were you. Chris claimed that Yuzume can control his body and speak through him with her own voice. On November 13th, he retconned his delusion by saying that he had not been sharing his body with Yuzume, but a clone of her named Orange Spiral Seal. Like that makes it any fucking different. Also mentioning the battle against fellow Neptunia character Kurome, which is funny because I know someone named Kurome. He no longer has the voice of Yuzume in his head, but still retains the powers. Okay, so he gets the goddess powers, but he disowned the goddess. Good for you, Chris. Chris Chan Sonichu. Chris repeatedly signing his name as Chris Chan Sonichu on court documents relating to his march. Can't you get in trouble for that? Despite it not being his legal name, though no action was taken. I mean, I guess it's close enough. It's got Chris Chan in it, so maybe the judge just goes easy on him because he knows he's dumb. Magi-Chan. Oh, we already read that quote. I don't need to read it again. For 1 month, from August 14th, 2019 to September 14th, 2019, which that was probably one of my most popular videos to come out, and it's so old now, I can't believe it. Chris believed that he had swapped bodies with Magi-Chan. He acted the role on video. In first recorded statement of Magi-Chan Sonichu, August 15th, 2019. During that time, he primarily tweeted his Magi-Chan 11448 alternate Twitter account, role-playing as Magi-Chan, and even signed Magi-Chan's signature on drawings. And we can see some proof of that right here. Tree. On November 26, 2019, Chris discussed his belief that he had body swapped with Tree Sonichu, an OC and recolor of Magi-Chan, created by MKR Nightv, who now doesn't like Chris anymore. Let's see how long that lasts. In order to work on the dimensional merge, and that he had ended the body swap after boosting Tree's abilities and making him overpowered. Chris says that like it's a fucking good thing, but it might as well just be Magi-Chan, because it's just fucking Magi-Chan. Sonichu. From April 15th, 2020 to February 25th, 2021, which, dear God, that lasted so fucking long and it made me not want to talk about Chris anymore. Chris believed that he had body swapped with Sonichu. He also believes it began earlier, retconning a beginning date of March 31st, 2020, which conflicts with him not yet being Sonichu's character in the April 10th, 2020 Red vs. Blue reaction livestreams video. Chris initiated the body swap as part of an elaborate, maladaptive coping method for missing out on Babscom convention, which is just a repeat of what they said earlier, but okay, which had been cancelled due to COVID-19. Using Sonichu as the mouthpiece, which is funny because Chris came back now, and it's right after they started lifting up the bans and lifting up the face mask requirements, so it's a very odd coincidence that Chris is back now. Chris claimed that he was able to visit BabsCon in C-197, which presumably avoided the pandemic, much like World War II. Chris continued acting out the role of Sonichu while he was a featured guest on Chris Chan and Max Mandu Live, which Chris appears on every live stream except for mine. I know it sounds a bit salty, but I've invited him on, but whatever. And continued to act as Sonichu all the way through February, with the only brief interruptions when he pretended to be Mewtwo and himself from another dimension detailed below. Chris finally stopped role-playing as Sonichu on the 25th of February 2021, immediately following the news of My Little Pony G5. He heralded his return by continuing to ramble on about the dimensional merge and bash the G5 cartoon. Mewtwo. Never speak against Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu ever again, or I shall see to your appropriate torment and punishment myself. Farewell. because that sounds like something Mewtwo would say, right? On the 14th of May 2020, to defend himself from a Twitter troll who cast doubt on Chris Chan's claim to be leading the Dimensional Merge, Chris paused his role-playing as Sonichu to roleplay instead as his imaginary husband, or husbando, Mewtwo. Mewtwo took to Twitter to lambaste and threaten the troll. What a shock. Chris of Dimension 1214. As an excuse to break his Sonichu roleplay, Chris pretended to be himself from another dimension to answer a short Q&A on August 27, 2020. And that's everything about spiritual possessions. Hopefully you guys learned something from this, and hopefully you guys like the return of Quickie discussions. If you guys like this video, hit the like button. If you really like it, share it. If you want to see more, then subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and bye.